Nobody stands by you in bad times. This is a series of stories. Please continue up to end. Lena sat in her small, dimly lit apartment, her hands trembling as she wiped away the last of her tears. The weight of her recent hardships felt like 1,000 stones crushing her chest. She had been fired from her job, a position she had worked tirelessly for over the past 5 years, and her landlord had just sent her a notice of eviction. All at once, her world had crumbled, and she was left in the cold with no one to turn to. The friends she had once counted on had drifted away, absorbed by their own lives and struggles, leaving Lena to face the storm alone. Nobody stands by you in bad times, she whispered to herself, the words feeling heavier than the air in the room. She had always heard people say that in times of need, true friends would step forward, offering a helping hand. But in her experience, those hands were absent when the darkness closed in.
The quiet hum of the refrigerator was the only sound in the apartment. Lena hadn't turned on the TV, nor had she checked her phone for the last few days. She didn't want to hear the empty messages of sympathy or the reminders of the life she had lost. She didn't want to hear the hollow voices that had once promised her that everything would be okay, only to vanish when things become difficult. Lena thought back to the time before everything fell apart. She had been the person everyone leaned on. The reliable friend, the constant listener, the one who always seemed to have the right words, the one who helped whenever anyone needed it. It had always been that way. Her friends had leaned on her during their difficult times, and she had supported them without hesitation, without question. And when it was her turn, when she needed someone to lean on, it was as if she had become invisible.
Her mind drifted to Julia, her best friend from college. They had shared everything: dreams, fears, hopes, and heartbreaks. When Lena's mother passed away a year ago, Julia had promised her that no matter what, she would be there. She was the one who had insisted they go out for coffee the day after the funeral, telling her to keep moving. Lena, you're not alone. But that was before. When Lena lost her job, when the rent payments piled up, Julia disappeared. Her calls went unanswered, her texts ignored. There were no late-night talks, no comforting visits, just the emptiness of radio silence.
Lena's heart ached at the memory. She had tried reaching out, asking for help, but each time, the words felt like they were swallowed by an endless void. She felt as if she had asked too much, as if her struggles were nothing more than an inconvenience to others. But it wasn't just Julia. It was everyone. Friends, family, co-workers, those who had promised to be there in the tough moments, when life tested her. Where were they when she needed them most? The disappointment gnawed at her. Her thoughts were a swirling mess of anger, sorrow, and isolation. Nobody stands by you in bad times. It was the truth she had come to realize far too late.
Lena's mind wandered further, remembering the days she had spent working tirelessly to build her career, the sacrifices she had made to keep friendships intact, the countless hours she had spent being the person others could count on, the one who was always there for others. Yet when the roles reversed, when she needed them, there was no one left. At that moment, Lena felt something shift inside her. It wasn't a flash of anger or sadness that overwhelmed her, but a quiet determination. If nobody is going to stand by me in bad times, then maybe it's time I start standing by myself. She took a deep breath, pushing the flood of emotions aside, and walked over to her desk, her fingers gently brushing the stack of bills and papers that had accumulated over the last few days. She looked at the eviction notice again, this time with a sense of resolve, as if something inside her was finally waking up.
Lena grabbed a pen and scribbled a few words on a piece of paper, making a list of what she needed to do. She would find a new job, no matter how hard it was. She would look for a cheaper place to live, a new place that she could make her own. And above all, she would start relying on herself, because she had no other choice. The weight of the world may have felt heavy, but she would carry it alone if she had to. No more waiting for others to step in, no more hoping for help from those who had turned their backs when the going got tough. Over the next few weeks, Lena found herself working harder than she ever had before. She sent out job applications tirelessly, despite the crushing fear of rejection. She found small tasks to keep herself busy organizing, packing, looking for temporary work to make ends meet. It wasn't easy, and there were days when she wanted to break down and call someone, anyone, to make her feel less alone. But she didn't. She kept going. She reminded herself that she could handle this on her own.
One afternoon, as she was sorting through her belongings, she came across a box filled with old mementos, photos from her childhood, letters from friends, souvenirs from past trips. She paused when her eyes fell on a picture of her and Julia laughing on a beach trip they had taken years ago. Her heart tightened in her chest, but there was no anger anymore, no bitterness. Instead, there was a realization. One afternoon, as she was sorting through her belongings, she came across a box filled with old mementos, photos from her childhood, letters from friends, souvenirs from past trips. She paused when her eyes fell on a picture of her and Julia laughing on a beach trip they had taken years ago. Her heart tightened in her chest, but there was no anger anymore, no bitterness. Instead, there was a realization. But Lena was stronger than she had given herself credit for. The photo of Julia wasn't a reminder of betrayal, it was a reminder that she had to find her own path, independent of anyone else's promises or shortcomings. A few months later, Lena found a small, affordable apartment on the edge of town. It wasn't grand or luxurious, but it was hers. She had landed a new job, a job that wasn't glamorous, but it was steady and offered a chance for growth. It wasn't the life she had once envisioned, but it was a life she could build on her own terms. And that, she realized, was the truest form of success.
Lena learned that in times of hardship, while people may disappoint or disappear, there is one constant: you. You are the one who stands by yourself when nobody else will. The strength you discover when you stop relying on others is the kind of strength that cannot be taken away. It is the quiet power of self-reliance. As the days passed, Lena didn't need anyone's validation or promises. She no longer measured her worth by the friends she had lost or the people who had let her down. She had found her own resilience, and in doing so, she discovered a deeper, quieter kind of peace. Because sometimes, in the darkest times, when no one else stands by you, you find the strength to stand by yourself. and that is more than enough.